Good evening. The following is a live broadcast for the City Board of Mayor and Alderman. Board meetings are regularly scheduled on the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 7 p.m. In advance of the BMA meeting, a copy of the agenda is available for inspection at the Kingsport Public Library, City Hall, or online at kingsporttn.gov.
Yeah, we got people going there. All right.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Kingsport Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. This is our business meeting where we deliberate and vote. The day is Tuesday, October 19th. At this time, I'll ask, is the New Vision youth here today?
They are not.
They're not. Then I'll ask John Morris if he'll lead us in the pledge. And then remain standing for the invocation to be delivered by Rob Randolph, youth pastor, Colonial Heights Christian Church.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John.
Let's go to God in prayer. God, we thank you for the blessings of this day. God, we thank you for the leaders that you have appointed here over our city. Father, I lift up to you these leaders, and I lift up to you the decisions and the discussions that will take place tonight. Lord, I pray that your Spirit will fill this place, that you will give guidance where it's needed, and may, through it all, may your kingdom come and your will be done. And we pray this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you, Mr. Randolph. Appreciate it. Please be seated. All right, Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Mayor Scholl,
Here.
Vice Mayor George,
Here.
Alderman Cooper,
Here.
Alderman Duncan,
Here.
Alderman Montgomery,
Here.
Alderman Ulterman,
Here.
Alderman Phillips.
Here.
Thank you. By my reckoning, all 7 elected members of the board are present. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we have 2 proclamations on the agenda tonight. The first one will be delivered by Alderman Duncan, and this is for domestic violence awareness.
I'll ask, I'll ask Brittany Fleener from Branch House if she'll come up here and join me for this as well. And in kind of preparing for this, I started thinking that we probably won't get any more proclamations that's probably any more serious than what this one is. And so we appreciate you being here tonight. But I was also looking at some numbers as well, just for domestic violence. This is Domestic Violence Month. And so nearly 20 people per minute. You probably know all these, but I was really surprised at some of these statistics. It was just amazing to me. But nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by a partner in the United States. And that's 10 million people per year, close to it anyway. And women, 38% of all women that is murdered comes from a domestic partner. 63% of the homeless women have experienced some type of domestic violence in their lifetime. 19% of the domestic violence involves a weapon. And 1 to 5 women has been raped in their lifetime or will be, which was just a number that I could hardly believe. And victims have a higher rate of depression, of course, and suicide as well. Most cases of domestic violence is never reported, so you got that many that's actually reported, but most of them is not even reported. So it's the numbers for this is just totally devastating. And then all that comes with a cost too. And so the cost of domestic violence is $8.3 billion per year for that goes into domestic violence. So, Brittany, the proclamation says, whereas domestic violence affects every citizen of Kingsport, either as a survivor of domestic violence or as a family member, friend, neighbor, or coworker. And whereas 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner, and whereas there exists a pressing need for greater public awareness towards the issue of domestic violence and greater availability of resources such as Safe House and nationwide, whereas the city of Kingsport joins with others across Tennessee and the nation in supporting victims of domestic violence and asserting that domestic violence is any form of unacceptable. Now, therein, my colleagues and myself, along with our mayor and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, here do by proclaim October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we appreciate you being here tonight. And if you'd like to say a word.
Thank you so much, Alderman Duncan. I'd just like to take a moment to thank Mayor Scholl and the aldermen for this wonderful proclamation. It is so nice to be in a city that has a true, sincere concern for victims of domestic violence. I'd also like to thank the Kingsport Police Department for their partnership and for the work they do every day for domestic violence victims, and for the way they handle those cases with the utmost compassion, respect, and professionalism. I truly believe that it takes a community working together to end the cycle of abuse. And I think that thanks to the leadership of the city of Kingsport, as well as the leadership of the Kingsport Police Department and the community support, that the city of Kingsport is really, really moving in a positive direction to end the cycle of abuse in its community. So thank you so much for having me and for the proclamation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take this.
And we appreciate what Branch House does. It makes an important contribution. Okay, Mr. City Manager, am I up?
All right, our next proclamation is for Community Planning Month, and our own Ken Weems, Planning Manager, will join the mayor at the podium.
I haven't seen Ken here tonight.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either.
Ken cleans up pretty nice, doesn't he?
Here it is.
Somebody get a picture.
Well, we certainly want to combat domestic violence, but this is a more kind of uplifting kind of proclamation. City of Kingsport proclamation. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. Whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live, providing an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to recovery and how planners can lead communities to equitable, resilient, and long-lasting recovery. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Kingsport. Now, therefore, I, Patrick W. Scholl, Mayor of the City of Kingsport, Tennessee, on behalf of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Community Planning Month in Kingsport and urge my fellow citizens to recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners and the public service they provide. Signed this day by me, Patrick W. Scholl, Mayor, and I'm presenting this to Ken Weems. Ken is our Chief of Planning in the City of Kingsport. Now, Ken, there's someone in your department who recently just went past the 15-year mark working for the city. And has been doing a good job. Does that resemble anybody you know?
He's been doing an excellent job. An excellent job.
And what I'm talking about is I'm talking about Ken Weems. Now, Ken and I go back 20 years ago when Ken was an officer on my staff when I was finishing up my Army career as a brigade level commander. Did an excellent job as outstanding officer. Obviously, the city recognized his talents. And Ken, 15 years ago, you were the young guy, and you were surrounded by a bunch of senior planners.
I know.
And all of a sudden, you're the senior planner now, 15 years
Stick around
later.
up long enough to make you the boss.
But well, I appreciate the work you've done. I know that my colleagues on the BMA appreciate the work you've done. Right now, you're training 3 very bright young ladies to be excellent planners and doing a great job. And everything you all do touches on what the rest of the city does.
Everything,
And,
absolutely.
and we really appreciate your expertise, your professionalism, your good humor. You're going to dress like this every day now, right?
Of course.
But look, I'd like you to have a coin just because, to recognize your outstanding
Great.
service.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You want to
Thank
say
very
anything?
much. Not a whole lot, but just like the proclamation says, the community engagement is absolutely critical, as we all know, in everything really that planning does, and really the city as a whole does. And we work that into our everyday actions. And if I can bring something to the board, and I can tell the board that we've engaged all the citizens and got the feedback and listened to them, and really that's what planning is all about, is making a city what the citizens want it to be. And so we're happy to do it.
Thank you. Thank you for your contributions to the city.
Thank you so much.
See you.
All right, we have no appointments on the agenda, so we'll move to the approval of minutes. I'd ask that you approve the minutes from the work session of September 27th, 2021, and from the business meeting on September 28th, 2021. Again, we ask that you approve these minutes as submitted, please.
Thank you. As the city manager announced, we have 2 minutes to approve. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Alderman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Each pass 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we have no public hearings on the agenda tonight, so we'll move to the citizen comment on agenda items section.
Thank you. At this time, citizens may speak on agenda items. As you come in the door down the hallway, close to this door to my right, there is a copy of the agenda put out every meeting. So citizens may speak on agenda items only. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. A total of 30 minutes is allocated for public comment during this part of the agenda. And let me add that if you wish to speak on another topic of general civic interest, there is a portion of the meeting toward the end where we allow citizens to do that. Is there anyone who'd like to talk to an agenda item in the audience? If not, I declare this part of the meeting closed, and please proceed, Mr. City Manager.
Our first item is a budget ordinance and agreement with TDOT for SR 36 multimodal from Green Hills Drive to Lebanon Road. This is to construct a sidewalk along Fort Henry Drive in the Colonial Heights area of our city. As you will recall, some time ago, the mayor, county commissioners, city staff went and visited various businesses along this section of Fort Henry Drive and Colonial Heights, asked if they would have an interest in seeing this project come to fruition. They were met with a resounding yes. And so we are now moving this project forward. The city has a 5% local match, so you're looking at a $680,000 covered by the state, $35,806 covered by the city. And this action tonight will appropriate our local match for this project.
And when TDOT is paying the bulk of this, they encouraged us to do this. And if you think about it, if we were to start all over again and build a road around a part of our city like Colonial Heights, we would put sidewalks in. That's how we would proceed. So citizens may not quite understand it, but the board is certainly open to explaining our intent here. Mr. City Manager, I guess I have to take a vote on the resolution and an ordinance.
Correct,
right?
you have both on this item.
Mr. Attorney, please publish the resolution.
A resolution approving an agreement with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for bicycles and pedestrian facilities, multimodal on SR 36 from Green Hills Drive to Lebanon Road, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the vice mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. Attorney, please publish the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend general project fund, general projects special revenue fund, and general fund budgets for the year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. As indicated on our packet, the ordinance is a first reading, so at our next business meeting, we'll vote for final adoption. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the vice mayor. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman Duncan. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, your next item is a budget adjustment ordinance for the General Project Fund and General Project Special Revenue Fund for fiscal '22. This really addresses three primary items. One is to receive funding in lieu of sidewalks, which we occasionally will do for certain developments, and then to transfer that money over to our sidewalk improvement project, which will allow us to begin construction of sidewalks. We're also transferring some money around between our signal pole upgrades and the street light projects. In addition to that, we're also amending the Border Region District Sales Tax Project. This is where we receive a portion of the state sales tax in. That's being amended, as well as setting up for the collection of e-citations coming in as a receipt of revenue. So we'd ask that you approve this ordinance, Mayor.
Thank you. Let me pause for a moment and remind, we have a TV audience, both on cable TV and as well as you can live stream our meetings through the city website. And if it appears, and I always make the assumption that there's folks that are seeing us for the first time. So if it appears we move really quickly on some of these items, we've already been over them in the following manner. The city manager meets with each board member individually, one-on-one, to go over the items. Then we meet together as a board in a work session where we discuss and consider the items. And then finally, when it comes to a business meeting, we vote on them. So we're not rushing through anything. We are performing due diligence. So, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the general projects fund and general projects special revenue fund budgets for the year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Alderman. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is a budget adjustment ordinance for various project funds in fiscal '22. And I'm going to bring up a presentation to kind of walk through this. As we discussed, and really we've been discussing this item at different levels, really going all the way back to May, and that is the American Rescue Plan Act, as well as other funds that have come in, the governor's grant, and our year-end funding. And so throughout this time, you all have been to training regarding the American Rescue Plan Act. We've had conversations on a one-on-one basis, and then we went into quite a bit of detail last night. We're going to go through this presentation tonight with still quite a bit of detail in it, and really as I look back through it, there's really no other way to do it. So bear with me, I know you've heard it twice, but what we're going to discuss as we go through this ordinance is really kind of three things. One, looking back at the decisions you made in fiscal '20 as well as fiscal '21, some of those positive impacts, and then some of the end results of what had to be done and kind of where that left us, primarily with it as it pertains to capital projects. We'll also talk about how the year ended up and how those dollars are being proposed to move forward. We'll look at the American Rescue Plan Act, kind of what our recommendations are, and then what is the next step, and really as it pertains to that second tranche. This is out of the fiscal '21 budget, and so if you were to go back with me to May of '20, we talked at two separate meetings about adjustments we wanted to make to fiscal '20 to prepare for the pandemic, and then also adjustments we were making as we moved into fiscal '21. Really, during that time, we had a tremendous amount of unknowns. We were following guidance from state, national agencies, professional organizations, telling us that we needed to be very conservative in everything that we were doing. We did so because we were anticipating a $5.5 million revenue loss. And trying to bridge that gap, we made over $3.9 million in cuts. A lot of those cuts that we made were towards items that I'll talk to you a little bit later about that we're going to ask that you restore funding to allow us to move forward with that. We also moved money from our fund balance, which again, this really further emphasizes that need to have a strong fund balance. And really the goal throughout all of 21, and you all saw that numerous times, was to be able to come back and make positive adjustments. And thankfully, these predictions that we were seeing with the economy, they never came to fruition. We were able to see some of our strong revenues come in and really help compensate for those other revenue accounts that were just shut down or had limited revenue as a result of the pandemic. So again, you go back to fiscal 21. When you look at that, we made those positive adjustments. The $1.6 million that we took out, we were able to restore. All said and done, we finished the year very well with a $2.3 million surplus or revenue over expenses. I know John Morris at a management team meeting here not too long ago really praised our managers for their job of managing their budgets during this year. We threw a lot at them. We asked them to do a lot more with a lot less, and it was very challenging, and I felt like they did a great job. With that being said, we continue to move the needle upwards on our fund balance. You've heard me discuss that time and time again, and especially this time of year as we go to the bond market for capital projects. This has been not only a focus of mine over the last couple of years, but really since 2014, there's been an effort by the board and by the managers to move the needle on our fund balance, and I appreciate your commitment and dedication to doing so. So when we look at the available funding options that we have, the first is the American Rescue Plan Act. This is the first tranche of that money that has come in. We actually received this money in May. It totals approximately $5.1 million. Second bucket of money that we're going to talk about will be the governor's grant. Now, you remember, a year ago, we received $1.2 million, and we were able to turn around and use those dollars to help fund the new Scott Adams Skate Park. That was very timely and to allow us to meet a very strenuous schedule that we put on ourselves in order to have minimal downtime between the present Scott Adams Skate Park closing and a new one opening. All of this, of course, to accommodate Domtar and our ability to keep them here and operational in Kingsport. Now, there's a possibility that we could come back to you all sometime in January where the governor may free up another $600,000 to equal what was initially allocated towards us and to cities and counties all across the state. We'll wait and see, but right now we're operating just off of half of that. So that brings your total funding again to about $7.2 million that we have available. The 2.3 of the year end, we're going to pull 1.5 of that and leave 800,000 in, again, just to continue moving that needle upwards in a positive manner. So this is probably an item that we have internally talked a lot about, and as I mentioned last night, John Morris, our budget officer, Lisa Winkle, our city recorder, they have probably done the lion's share of work and staying on top of how these dollars can be spent. We have seen a lot of guidance come and then be modified and then come back at us again. And so they've really done a good job of just focusing in on what we can and cannot do. These 4 bullets really list out what has been relayed to us that we should be focusing on. And you see I've underlined revenue loss, and we'll talk a little bit about that. One of the things that we have focused on, really going back to day one, is the whole angle of revenue loss, because we believed at the end of the day, the way the guidelines were set up, this created the greatest opportunity for us to be able to maximize these dollars. The reason we're doing this, and is in that first bullet under that second heading there, it allows us to kind of do catch-up funding to cover maintenance, capital items, and projects that were postponed in order to balance the budget after COVID revenue reductions. So how did we determine this? Well, we really had to utilize and rely on a calculator that was given to us through the ARPA process to determine what that revenue loss was. There's built-in, there's a formula that had some built-in numbers to that, one of which was a growth rate of 4%. And so that is a pretty significant growth rate. I'll tell you that's not necessarily a growth rate that we have seen, but that's a standard number that they've plugged into this formula that cities all across the country are utilizing. And so from that, the formula came back and said, you know, we should have seen $8 million, or we have lost $8 million in revenue as a result. So that then allowed us to be able to go in and make necessary adjustments to kind of backfill those dollars that we took out of that. When you look at the governor's grant and kind of focusing on this fiscal 22 revenue, we were able to put that into play for capital projects, and we were also able to take some of the ARPA money and use that to supplant already budgeted money into the salary and wages line item for our fire department paramedics. Again, all of this an allowable use under the ARPA guidelines. So you see there kind of what our policy has been when we talk about fiscal 22 revenue, even as we look at year-end money. These are going to go to one-time capital items. They're not going to go towards recurring expenses, and it allows us to really kind of step back and enhance some of these capital needs. As Lisa and I were kind of talking about this presentation and kind of looking at what we have, you know, we go through a budget process, we have capital items in the budget, and you wait to see what you can do at year end. And sometimes year end allows you to do some things that you wanted to do, but you just really couldn't fit it into the budget, but they're still very worthwhile projects. And that's really been the philosophy for the entire time that I have had the opportunity to work through this. So what are our funding recommendations? So when you take all the money that we have, whether it be through the year end, the governor's grant, or the first tranche of the American Rescue Plan, we really came back and we focused on 4 primary areas. So public works, public safety, that includes both police and fire, leisure services, which is our park, and then general admin. And so when you go through these projects, and a question was asked last night, well, how did we arrive on these projects? Well, the first thing that we did is I sent a note out to the leadership team members, and I asked them to go back through and look at some of the capital items that they had requested. Maybe it had been in 20, maybe it had been in 21. In some cases, it could have been further back that had not been funded. It may have not been funded because the project wasn't ready, or it may have not been funded because there were other priorities. Various things often contribute to that. We also then look for projects that we believe would also tie in to what the American Rescue Plan guidelines were. I won't go through all of these, but you'll kind of see some trends there when we look at the fire department. We're looking at our training facility, something that we have funded this year. This allows us to go in and provide some additional capital needs in order to really outfit that facility very well. Public Works radio replacement has been something that has been needed for some time. Local roads, this is from a design standpoint. So some time ago, we would set aside about $500,000 every year, and we would use that money for design. This would allow us to be in a position, if funding came available at the state level, or if funding came available at the local level, we were in a position to be able to move forward with that. Investing in our parks continues to be a priority for the board, and so it's a priority for us, and this also addresses many of the ADA improvements that we need to make within our parks. We've talked a lot about paving. This allows us to put another $500,000 towards paving, this within the Lynn Garden area. This will allow us to finish the worst streets within Lynn Garden, and it'll bring the total amount of money that we, on a local level, have allocated towards paving to up around $3.5 million. One of the big items within the American Rescue Plan has been access to broadband, and so we are stepping back and really diving into a study that will help us better understand what is available when it comes to broadband within our city. There are multiple providers. There is also private entities that have fiber in the ground, and so we need to get a better understanding of what is there. You also heard when you were at the Tennessee Municipal League meeting that private entities also have the ability to apply to the state to upgrade the fiber and the connectivity they have within their service areas. So this will be very valuable as we move through it. One of the big things also with the American Rescue Plan has been community grants. And so these will be really focusing in on entities that have seen a negative economic impact. And we will be producing guidelines for that later in this calendar year and be publishing that. Again, a lot of equipment going to both police and fire. Those have been items that we have needed to do for some time, and I'm glad we were able to include that in here. And then a lot of work within our parks. Again, when we talked recently about a Park and Rec master plan, we've talked a lot about Bays Mountain, especially during the 50th anniversary. These are items that have been long-standing items, whether it's paving and landscaping at Allendale or improvements to the atrium there at the senior center. These are items that we needed to be able to go in and address. So that all total brings you to 5.145,390, which is the total amount for that first tranche of revenue with ARPA. The second bucket is your year end. This is the one we're a little bit more familiar with dealing with. We've been very fortunate over the last several years to be able to bring projects back to you all that, again, items that we may have discussed, looked at within the discussions for the fiscal 22 budget that we're in now, but we just weren't able to do that. Academic Village study, we had a lot of great meetings on this topic today with the Higher Education Commission, really stepping back and asking ourselves, what does the Academic Village 2.0 look like? What are things we need to do in order to be able to provide the offerings that we need at this facility or the facilities that we have with the partners that we have in order to serve the citizens and the businesses within Greater Kingsport. If you've opened the newspaper, turned on the news, in the last several weeks, you've seen the strain that is being faced throughout the country as it pertains to paramedics, paramedic pay, trying to attract paramedics to work within your organization. We're able to set some stuff up from a training standpoint that we hope will provide the necessary incentive so some of our firefighters will move down that path. In addition to that, I'll kind of skip down through here, facility improvements. Again, I think Jeff Fleming probably started this reinvestment back into our facilities. It has been a priority for some time to make sure that everything from the library to the Justice Center to our community centers, we're maintaining those at a very high level. Another thing this board has talked a lot about has been code enforcement, especially as it pertains to dilapidated structures and the impact that can have on a neighborhood or a commercial district. $75,000 is going towards this, and as I've told you all, our building official is actively pursuing many items or many projects that are now have gone through the hearing process and are moving towards demolition. There's a very good chance we'll be coming back and asking you all for more money pertains to this. Several things within leisure services that we continue to have a lot of conversations about. Greatly appreciate Michael Borders moving forward with new online software registration. If that's one of the things that we learned during the pandemic, the need to be able to do things remotely, do things online. So signing your kids up for swim lessons, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be, we'll be able to roll out hopefully a new user-friendly software package for that. And then also the last one, we talk about sanitation site improvements. One of the things that really got us looking a lot at our facilities was the decision to move into this building. And it created somewhat of a pause within our organizations. We stepped back and we looked at all of our facilities and we asked a lot of questions. We worked with some really good consultants, told us what we needed to be looking at now as well as into the future. And so this will begin the design work to look at moving our sanitation division, which is currently on Industry Drive, over to the landfill on Brookside. That'll then free up more space there on Industry Drive for some of those other groups to be able to expand into. And then lastly, we talk about our fiscal 22 revenues, and really that's the governor's grant, and then supplanting the rescue plan money back into where the firefighter and paramedic pay, which was already budgeted. So we kind of go through that. We look at some of the things associated with that. Again, parks, Riverbend Park, Cement Hill, the ability to focus on those things. both of which we've had a lot of conversations about lately. River Bend allows for access into the river, which I know is a priority for the board, priority for the chamber to really take advantage of the waterways that we have here, and then also Cement Hill moving forward the land use plan that then allows for the next phase, which is to open that up for a passive park. I also highlight in here, because we had a great presentation from Christine Markley, our library manager, last night at the work session, where we talked about the archives, and the archives move over into this building, which then frees up a lot of space at the library that they've got some great plans for. And so that's a very expensive move, over $200,000 to buy the necessary shelving that they require for the archive storage, and then also to demo the old shelving and other things out of that space at the library so that they can free that up for the use that they have there. So kind of in summary, we're addressing a lot of deferred capital items. I think if you look through this, you see the multiple departments, you see the multiple assets that it touches. That was kind of the goal going into this. What are the things that we need to do across our organization to really deal with stuff that, quite honestly, over the last couple of years, we should have dealt with, but due to circumstances beyond our control, we were unable to. We're also laying a foundation for the future with some of our expenditures, the road design, park design. Those are very critical items because they set the framework for future budgets and capital decisions that we make. The community grants, something that, again, is one of the primary items within the Rescue Plan Act, and we'll have more information on that as we continue to work through that, but this action tonight sets that aside. And then also just continuing with items that I know this board has talked about, previous boards have talked about, whether that's with paving, infrastructure, technology, facility improvements, code enforcement, the actions that we're proposing here, the recommendations we're proposing for your action addresses that. So what is next? Well, as you all know and what we've talked about, we're talking about a very small portion. I know 10.2 million is not small, but in the grand scheme of what is available in the state of Tennessee and what is still to come down the pike that we might be able to tap into, this is only addressing the city's issue, or the city's the amount that was issued to the city. Our Deputy City Manager, Ryan McReynolds, will be working with the county and the utility providers within Sullivan County to identify the Rescue Plan Act money that is flowing through the state down to the counties for utilities. In addition to that, as I mentioned, we have a consultant on board helping us with a broadband study. We'll be utilizing that data to help also go after additional funding or working with existing providers to identify opportunities that they might be able to utilize for the betterment of our city. And then really, as we kind of wrap this up and kind of look to the future, we've talked only about the first tranche of money, which is that $5.1 million. And what I said to you all yesterday, really need to begin now having conversations about what the second tranche of funding will be used for, what that next $5 million, what project is that, you know, and I think there's no better opportunity to do that. And typically we meet in February for a strategic planning session and utilize that opportunity to look at what is on the books, what do we have in terms of capital items that are coming down the pike. You obviously heard from Christine last night and talking about the library, but you've got a capital budget or a capital book that is full of a lot of projects, and CIP, thank you. And so there might be a lot of other items that are of interest. And then again, I'll remind you of the community survey that's ongoing right now. There could be items that come out of that the board wishes to entertain. Okay. So that will kind of be the path that we have going forward, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Let me hit a couple of points that you hit, because they can't be stressed enough. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the ARPA funds you refer to come directly from the federal government to our city based on the size of our city.
Correct.
And they come with what you call guidelines, rules.
Correct.
And we have to follow those rules because we're always subject to an audit, and if they found out we didn't do it right, we could be penalized. So obviously we want to avoid that. Therefore, we grouped that into a bucket, is what you and I have called it, but that composition, that bucket influenced your setting up the other two buckets. So that's how we got to that. So while it totals almost 8 million altogether, there's different flavors of money, and we have to treat them a different way because of this.
That's exactly right. As we mentioned last night, Lisa, as the city recorder, has reporting requirements she has to do on a regular basis for these dollars. And so we have to report out how they are being used. And while the revenue loss does give us some additional flexibility, we also have to be able to go in and still demonstrate how we use those dollars for projects that would fall within the acceptable use for the rescue plan money.
Okay, Board, before I call on the city attorney, do you have, my colleagues, do you all have any questions for the city manager regarding the presentation?
I don't know if I've got a question, but I appreciate the city manager and the staff, for compiling all this, because you just don't pop this out in a minute. I mean, it's well thought, and it's got a lot of different moving parts to it. And so I really commend them for taking a lot of time and going through this, to kind of come up with a number for that. So there's a lot of great projects on there.
Any other comments?
I'd like to second what the Alderman just said.
Good staff work, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Okay.
I agree with both of them, and I think it's just, I said it last night, I think we're just in such a unique situation that I don't know if ever a city government's been just handed this sums of money and just say, here you go. But then on the flip side, give you so many restrictions on what you can and can't do with it. And I think the city staff is to really be commended on how they have worked to find ways to appropriately spend this money. Because as we heard at TML, you can spend it today and tomorrow the auditors can show up. I mean, they just, they really watch you on what you do with this, so.
Tommy and I are old enough to remember revenue sharing in the 70s, but that's another story.
That was a little bit before my time.
Yeah. Any other comments? If not, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend various project fund budgets for the year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second? Second. There's seconded by Alderman Montgomery. Are there any other comments or discussion? I would end it then, Mr. City Manager, by saying, I thought about this. There's three big things that we give you to do, and one is advise us, and you certainly have done that through this process. Secondly, we expect you to provide services, essential public services to our city, along with your workforce, of course, that you direct, and we ask you to maintain our infrastructure and our facilities. And this action touches all those things, and we appreciate the work that you and the staff have put into this. Every year we're required to pass a budget and set a tax rate. Those are huge, but this is up is a big deal. So all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes on first reading 7-0. Next item.
Next item is to enter into a materials agreement with the Edinburgh Group LLC related to the Everett's Valley development and an ordinance to appropriate the funds. This is within the Edinburgh community located in Rock Springs. And the reason this is coming to you because it is over $50,000. And as you all know, it requires board action for that. And so the total amount on this is a little over $88,000 for a new 50-lot development. So we'd ask that you approve this resolution and the ordinance regarding this item, please.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, Mr. Attorney, excuse me, please read the resolution.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a materials agreement with the Edinburgh Group LLC related to the Everett's Valley development and authorizing the mayor to sign all documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I move we approve.
Moved by Alderman Alderman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Is there any discussion?
I'm going to abstain from voting on this.
Yes, ma'am. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. It passes 6-0, one abstention. Mr. Attorney, please publish the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend the water and sewer project funds by transferring funds to the Everett Valley Materials Agreements Project, WA 2253 and SW 2253, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Montgomery. Any discussion?
I also abstained on this one.
Thank you. If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. It passes 6-0-1 with the one being an abstention. Next item.
Next item is a second reading, and this is for the addition of a secretarial position for the building division. We'd ask that you approve this ordinance, please.
Thank you. And I'll remind my colleagues this is a roll call vote, but Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the general fund budgets by adding a secretary position in the building division for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. I expected Alderman Phillips to move this item. Is there any discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper.
Aye.
Alderman Duncan.
Aye.
Vice Mayor George.
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery.
Aye.
Alderman Alterman.
Aye.
Alderman Phillips.
Aye.
Mayor Scholl.
Aye, it passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is to approve a change order number 1 for the Dobyns-Bennett High School cooling tower replacement project. As the bids were opened, and again, this is a project where federal dollars are being used through the ESSER dollars or the Elementary Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund. They needed to adhere to Davis-Bacon wages, so adjustments were made, resulting in this change order. So again, this comes to us from the Board of Education, and we'd ask that you approve the resolution, please.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution approving change order number 1 to the agreement with SB White Company, Inc. for the Dobyns-Bennett High School cooling tower replacement project and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents necessary and proper to effectuate the change order.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is an agreement with the Sevier County Schools for a cooperative purchasing agreement. You're going to hear us talk a lot about this over the next several items, but this allows the city of Kingsport to kind of piggyback on the procurement work already done by Sevier County Schools, and that will impact the next item. So we ask that you approve this resolution, please.
And the whole purpose of this cooperative agreement is to reduce costs.
Reduce costs, reduce time. Typically, when this has occurred, the necessary purchasing requirements have been done. They've been satisfied with the end product. They've been satisfied with the price. And the company, along with typically the lead entity that does this work, will then set it up for cooperative purchasing across the state and in some situations across the country.
Real streamlined. Okay. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution approving an agreement with Sevier County Schools for cooperative purchasing and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
The next item is to purchase 110 box lights from Central Technologies Incorporated. This is an interactive flat panel display that will be used by Kingsport City Schools. And again, it's being funded through the ESSER dollars and is part of the Sevier County contract that's already been issued, which you signed on to with your last item. So we'd ask that you approve this resolution authorizing this purchase, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order for 110 box lights from Central Technologies, Inc. for the Kingsport City School System.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Second by Alderman Alderman. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is award the purchase for 2 Kubota tractors utilizing the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement. This agreement is actually set up with Kubota of Kingsport. These are 2 replacement tractors, so the funds have already been depreciated, set aside in an account for them. So we'd ask that you approve this resolution authorizing this purchase.
And you can sign up Alderman Phillips as an operator?
No.
Okay.
I can operate a Kubota.
Okay, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order to Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing for 2 Kubota tractors.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Any discussion?
I'm glad to see it's from the Bud of Kingsport.
Yeah.
Hey, good news.
Not only does that mean we're buying from it, it means others are buying from it as well.
Anything else? That's a good comment. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is to award the purchase for 2 fire pumper apparatus utilizing Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Agreement. These are two fire trucks that we are in need of replacing. I really appreciate the work that is done by not only the fire department, but also Steve Leonard within our fleet department. Utilizing Sourcewell, they're able to sit down, go through a very detailed design process with the fire department to understand what they needed on the truck and then to be able to move that forward for a purchase. I think I've heard from everybody talking about how thrilled they've been with that process and the end result of the design that they came out with. So we'd ask that you approve this, authorizing these replacements and the purchase of these 2 fire trucks.
Chief, is this the latest technology? That's great. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order to Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing for 2 fire pumper apparatus.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Move by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is to enter into an agreement with TDOT and sign all applicable documents for the State Route 93, Morgan Lane to south of Baileyton Road relocation. This is Sullivan Gardens Parkway, just outside of Fall Branch on the Kingsport side. It does sit outside of our city limits, but TDOT is in the process of doing spot repairs to State Route 93. In one of the areas that they're working on, we have a water line, and so this action tonight authorizes the necessary steps to be taken to do the design work, which will be reimbursed on, as well as for TDOT to ultimately relocate that line, and they will also cover those expenses as well. So we'd ask that you approve this, allowing our staff to enter into this agreement and begin this work.
I had in my notes that this is totally paid by TDOT.
That is correct, and there is a map showing the general area.
Okay. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution approving a utility relocation contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the contract.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Montgomery. Any discussion?
Do
All
we
those.
know when this will start?
It's a ways down the road.
Ways down the
No
road. That's
pun
what I
intended.
think, usually with these.
Yeah, it's a ways. Now, TDOT's presently doing work in Fall Branch. It's kind of in between, I guess, Interstate 81 and kind of the feed store there in Fall Branch. And so that's kind of the first phase. This will be the next phase. Much needed improvements.
Yeah,
but
that
it's-
road needs
are.
improvement.
It's still a
That's why I was
ways away.
wondering if we just had any kind of time frame, which I know it's up to TDOT, but,
Yeah, I would say we're a few years down the road.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, the next item is one that you all see regularly, and this is an amendment to the contract between the City of Kingsport and Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, or TDEC. We are required to provide assurance to TDEC that if in the event we needed to close our demolition landfill, that we have the funding available to do so. It has been adjusted annually for inflation, and you see our new number there. And so we ask that you approve this resolution to amend this contract, please.
And as you explained it to me, this doesn't actually involve an outlay of money at this time. We're assuring that we're good for it if there's a
That is correct.
problem.
Should an event occur, we have the funds available, but not necessarily set aside in a dedicated account.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution approving an amendment to the contract in lieu of performance bond with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, increasing the amount of financial assurance for the landfill and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the amendment or this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Any discussion?
What is the life of our landfill? How much,
Good, great question.
how much?
Yeah.
10 more years or?
Yeah, I mean, we're good for quite some time. We've done a good job over the years of purchasing additional land, and open up additional sales. And so, Brian, you want to give us down to the final day?
Yeah, it's April 16th, 2048.
I'll be in the afternoon, too.
No, it's for decades to come. We're fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Betsy, I asked the same question, and he gave you the short version.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah. Good question. Any other comments or questions?
So much on the news about landfills lately in our area. I said it's
Nice to know we're
nice to
good.
know we're good.
Yeah, we kind of had that discussion yesterday in
Yeah.
my one-on-one.
Yeah, it's nice to know we're in good shape for
Yeah.
years to come.
Absolutely.
And what's especially important is all the actions they take to make it truly a sanitary landfill. There's no leakage or anything like that, so it's a big deal, yeah. Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is to extend current temporary employment services agreement. This is with AccuForce. We will utilize temporary employees in Public Works, Parks and Recreation, Aquatic Center, for various things over the course of the year. This is the avenue that we go through to bring those employees on board, and so we just ask that you extend this out for another year.
And as you told me, the Public Works use mowers, people who control litter and so forth. Correct. And we need that at times. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution renewing the agreement for temporary employment services with AccuForce and authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement for the same and all documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, you have nothing on the consent agenda. I'll move into communications. You'll notice an item in your packet that is required by us to be spread across the minutes. This was an emergency purchase that I authorized last month, and this was within Public Works. And so anytime that happens, we're required to come to you all, demonstrate what we did and why we did that. And this was the first meeting since that time. So other items, just a couple of things that I'll mention. This was brought up last night by Alderman Montgomery. George DeCruz, our HR director, will be retiring next Friday. George likes to say he's retiring on Halloween, but he's actually retiring next Friday. I know George is not watching right now because I am in the hour of Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. He's very particular of those. But George has done an outstanding job for us. George came to us from Eastman and really stepped in a very timely manner for us to fill a void that we had. We had an interim manager for a long period of time. The office was really running short-staffed as a result of that. But George has done a lot of great things. He'll definitely be missed. If you know him, you know he's got a great sense of humor. And that is something that I know from a staff level, we will desperately miss. You know, there's times when you're having conversations within HR and they're not always good. George finds a way sometimes to put a smile on your face, and I know for the employees as well. So we wish him nothing but the best. George will reside here in Kingsport, and I'm sure he will be enjoying his retirement. As we say to everyone, they've deserved it. George definitely has. I also want to just take a second to thank the board for your actions tonight on the budget item pertaining to year-end and to the American Rescue Plan. This has been a conversation for a long time. It's been a tough couple years.
We got another vote coming, yeah.
You got another vote.
Don't blow it.
You got another vote. Hopefully we won't blow it between now and then. But it's been a tough couple of years. Appreciate your confidence in me, which is a reflection of your confidence in the staff that have done an outstanding job. John and Lisa, I sang their praises last night. I'll continue to do so tonight. They've really had to focus in on this a lot, understand what we can and cannot do. We've met a lot. We've talked a lot about it. They've been through countless training hours, so have I. But it's been good, and I feel like what we recommended to you all tonight covers a lot of items throughout the city. And when you look over that list, there's a lot of things that you'll see within our parks, within our facilities, within the operations side of it that I think are very critical to just the overall management and the life and support of our city. So I appreciate that. I know we've talked a lot about it. It's been a long time since May. But, you know, as putting this presentation together and looking back to May of 20 and just kind of the unknowns that we had, it was somewhat scary kind of going back through those old files and looking at the conversations that we were having and the amount of unknowns. But Kingsport has done very well, not only from the city of Kingsport, but our businesses. I know some have struggled, but in large part, we rallied around all of them and tried to carry them through. So again, just want to say thank you and very much appreciate your support throughout all of this. So Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, and I'll start tonight with Alderman Duncan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items. A lot of it's on Halloween, but last meeting we were here, I talked about Sullivan Street, and the paving was just beginning to start at that time. And so if you haven't been down Sullivan Street lately, it is a huge difference in what we've seen in a number of years. Still a little bit of work to happen down there, but overall it's pretty amazing, and it's really much better than it's been in a number of years. Like I said, a number of Halloween things coming up. Bays Mountain Park has a movie this weekend. It's Hocus Pocus. That's Friday night at 7:30. Better dress warm, and I would contact Bays Mountain for more details on that. Lamplight has some shows coming up, one's in progress, the Mortality Room, which runs through the weekend of October the 31st. They've also got another ghost tour coming up. That is the Boohoo, and it's a mystery show, and it's got a ghost tour on it as well. That's October the 29th through the 30th. DKA has a Trick or Treat on the Street. That's Saturday, October the 30th. That goes from 12 to 2 p.m. And last night, Alderman Phillips was talking about, we had a great update from Christine too, but she was talking about crafts, and James was talking about crafts at the library. That also has crafts involved with that too, and then the merchants will have treats that day as well. And then finally, we've got another cleanup this weekend at the Greenbelt. That's this Saturday. It's on Holston Drive.
Behind the Holston Valley Community Medical Center.
Right, exactly. And so we had a request really from one of our citizens that said, you know, we need to take a look at it. So we're responding with that as well. And I think that person's going to participate too.
Are they making that parking lot right there?
Yeah, that big parking lot behind them.
Yeah, and so that'll be from 9 to 11, and we'll be set up right there. And we had a Kingsport Beautiful meeting today, and through the 7 trash pickups we've had, it's been over 18 tons of trash picked up through those 7. And that's being recognized through the state here in the next little bit too.
And Daryl, I appreciate you. I think you've been to all of these pickups or
I think
just
mine's
about all.
one, yeah, one or two, so.
I mean,
I'm trying to
you're showing
participate
us
when I can.
personal commitment and setting an example for people.
I
to-
appreciate that, thank you. So that'll be it. There's a lot of things that we could continue to go into, what all we've done in the last little bit, but that's all.
Betsy, let me interject for a second because Daryl brought up Halloween several times and Adrienne's hit me up on Halloween. Chris, I've had several citizens express, when is Halloween? And the confusion seems to be revolving around the fact that the 31st of October, which is traditionally Halloween, falls on a Sunday. And some people wonder if maybe they don't want to celebrate on a Sunday or not. And when you and I had this discussion, I don't think that the city's ever tried to regulate Halloween, when Halloween occurs. I mean, I believe in small government myself. But citizens have asked me to kind of clarify that. As far as I'm concerned, Halloween is on the 31st of October. That's when it falls on the calendar.
Where's the chief?
I think smart kids will go Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I think I've been asked a couple of times, the city did something for Halloween once, and we did when this has been several years ago in terms of stating when you should go trick-or-treating, and that was because a storm was moving in, and it was the recommendation of many folks within the region to select a certain day for that. It's my understanding the Chamber of Commerce is telling folks to go on the trick-or-treating on the 30th. I know there's a lot of trunk-or-treat activities on the 31st. I would say, get 2 costumes and go both nights. So I think
That's your plan?
That's my plan, yeah. So no, I mean, I think, again, I think that's what the chamber has been stating, to go on the 30th.
There's some very active neighborhood associations that might want to weigh in for their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Again, I've got my colleagues here, but I'm not trying to regulate when Halloween occurs.
I just need to know what night full candy bars will be handed out at the vice mayor's house.
Saturday, probably Saturday and Sunday at my house. I will be prepared either way because I like Halloween. I think it's a wonderful holiday. And we could, if people ring my doorbell now, I probably would give them a big candy bar.
Landry's plan is the DKA stuff Saturday night and Colette's house on Sunday.
Or she'll give you something the peacock left. Okay, Betsy.
Living in Watauga, we get like 1,000 people by our house on Halloween, so I said I'd like to know when I need to turn my porch lights off. Chris, you just mentioned, thanking the board for everything, but since you've been city manager, there has been one event after another that's no one, that's not your fault. It's just the way, from pandemic, and I appreciate you adapting and changing course, on a dime. Sometimes we have, from one day to the next, we've had to change our direction, and you and the city staff have done really good about just all of a sudden, stopping what you're doing, adapting, and being very fluid in what we're doing. So we've already mentioned that the library, Christine Markley came yesterday and gave us an update. She mentioned Hoopla, and I signed up for it today, and if you have not, you need to. It's amazing. There's books, there's movies, there's children's activities, there's children's books that you can download up to 4 a month for free. So if you have not, you need to do that. I plan to use it with the grandchildren. So it's a wonderful addition to the library that you can use. I downloaded it on my phone and my computer. So, and if you haven't been to the library has changed to keep up with how the world has changed. The library is not the library that we knew. We talked about that last night when I was a child going to the library. It's so different. So if you haven't been to a library, you need to go. It's amazing the things that they're doing, the crafts, the makerspace, the 3D printer, the things that you hear about. You can go there and learn how to do them. In the Cricut machine, if you want to do that, go there and try it out first before you buy it. So there's a lot of things happening in our library that we need to go look at and go and support. So I think that's it. And
when you said change, I think what you meant was the wide array of different activities that they can participate
Oh,
in
yeah, there's
through
just,
the library.
just as our world has changed. I mean, the way that we learn and get our information now has changed. So, and they have adapted very well. And it's an exciting place. It's fun to go to. I went there today, as a matter of fact. It's fun to go to and just see what all is happening there. So, but the hoopla thing, I was really impressed with. I had heard about it, but did not sign up until today. So it has all kind, things that you can do just from your home. Just
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Remind everyone that the United Way campaign is in progress, and encourage you, if you're not given, to do so. And we're blessed to live in a community that's so giving and gets so many things done. So please remember the United Way. I too want to commend George DeCruz on his time and service here. Thank him for his service, and I wish he and Kim the very best in retirement. That's it.
James? Thank you.
A lot of things that have probably been said, but to echo what Paul just said about George, I've known George a long time, since he was at Eastman and worked with me on Racks by the Tracks. He's a great person, and so I will miss him here at the city. I didn't even realize, I think, when I was elected alderman and I went and met with the HR person, and it was George, and I should have known that, but immediately a practical joke was played when I walked into the office. So, yeah, George is a great guy. We'll miss him. Halloween, to echo what I just said, we're going Saturday, the DKA stuff, and Sunday, we're taking Landry trick-or-treating, so we've got enough face paint. She's going as a witch, so we're going to be a witch 2 nights in a row. So I encourage people to just go both nights, because that's what I've decided to do. Then the library. After the presentation last night, I was looking at their website and I saw that they have, story time every Tuesday and Thursday. So I took Landry today to story time at the library, and there were a bunch of parents and kids there, and it was awesome. It was a really great time. They have them up doing exercises and listening to stories and reading books. And we left there, we checked out 4 books. And the kids section's incredible. And, we just had a wonderful time there. And then finally, I just want to commend Ken Weems and his team. As Mayor recognized, was it National Planning Month? And I think that the first time I met with Ken has always been when I was building. But after getting elected, Ken and his team set out to not revamp the planning department, but to just make sure that everything was being done to make sure that that we had the best planning department in the state. And Ken has done an incredible job with that department. He had some turnover, and he's getting everybody trained up. I serve on the planning commission, and I just cannot tell you enough good things about that department. And not just for me, but I was at the DB football game a few weeks ago, and somebody came over and sat beside me just specifically to tell me, it was a developer who develops all over this region and other places. They specifically sat down to tell me how much they enjoy working with our planning department, and they are the best planning department to work with. So the Ken's group is to be commended for that. And that's all I've got.
A lot of pressure here, Ken. You might have to wear a tie every day now. Tommy?
Well, I do have 2 small things. It's where these guys that I'll go by and visit the restaurants every now and then and say howdy to them. I don't go as much as I used to, but I went the other day, and the first thing, a group of them got around me and said, "Hey, when you going to introduce football and basketball?" So here's my first take at it. Football this Friday, and they're playing Oak Ridge.
In Oak Ridge.
In Oak Ridge. And then next week, they're going to play basketball. And I'm not sure whether that's a scrimmage game or who it is, but they've got a real dynamite team, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Should be tough in the state this year.
Yeah. I think that first
So
game.
that's my 2.
Yeah. I think that's an exhibition game, the first one.
Yeah, it is. I think it is.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're traveling, they're going down to Texas and play big group out of Texas. And it'd be interesting to read about how they come back.
I think Coach Porter's got them primed for a big year.
He does. He's got some big boys playing too.
Okay, well, thank you, Tommy. Vice Mayor Collette.
Well, I assume George's retirement party is going to be November 1st.
Absolutely.
Just want to make sure I get my invite to that. I think most things have really been talked about. I do want to mention, Daryl and I went out to Meadowview when they had the Doberman Dog Show. And if you didn't drive by, or if you did drive by, you really thought we had an RV campground there, that they had 400 Dobermans staying at the Marriott. And we spoke with a lot of the people that were in with the different organizations who put this together. And they spent the entire time thanking us and talking about how wonderful Kingsport was. And it was just, it went on, and I keep, it's like, I didn't do anything, but you're welcome. They were absolutely thrilled with the accommodations. They were absolutely thrilled with everyone they met in the town. They thought the chamber did a fantastic job. Every need they had was accommodated. They had already talked to, I think, 6 different breeds who do dog shows. They'd been in touch with them, asking about the facilities, how much we could accommodate, what if their needs, and if it was a field dog or whatever kind of training, if we also had that. But they just kept saying this is, went on and raved about Northeast Tennessee, Kingsport, Marriott, and the downtown, the restaurants.
Now, my understanding is we can expect future dog shows.
Yes, I mean, they were very complimentary and appreciated that we showed up. And I was there at least an hour before, with them still following me out, thanking me, and Daryl had taken the first probably hour of that.
Yeah, I went to their board meeting. They invited me to that. And I've been contacted once since then, just thanking me. There was a lady text me this week.
Yeah, I mean, we normally, we hear great things about our community, but we also hear the other side, and they were so complimentary in every phase of how this went. And I was going to try to get back when they had the puppies, but it was a very unique opportunity to go and see dogs everywhere you went, and running and playing, and then they did all the little Doberman things, which is really cute, and I don't have a Doberman yet, but we will see.
You're to come back.
Yeah, that's why I was going to go then, but then I didn't. And also I did take time out of my busy schedule to go drink a beer and look at the goats and make sure that they were working diligently and had done we're getting our money's worth, and check that out. And it said there were several other people also keeping an eye on that, so thank the city for.
You picked out names for them?
I could name all 100, but I'm sure there's still 100 there right now. So, but, and really, thank you for all the work you did putting it together for the CARES money and our funding, and I just want to get started on all this stuff and continue down the path we're going on. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thanks.
I used to have it over.
You did?
Yeah, boy.
They're big.
Yes, mine got to be about to my waist.
Yeah.
And somebody came by the clothesline and stole him.
Gee,
Yeah, down at my mother's house.
who ate more, you or the Doberman?
Oh, the Doberman, yeah.
Okay.
He got all the seconds, too.
All right, well, you learn something every day, Tommy. Let me add my congratulations to George DeCrow's Kingsport native, Dobbins Bennett grad, George. And, but I, of course, know him as a professional, been in HR for a long career as in that field, and great expertise, dedicated to his job, and just a pleasure to work with. Well, we talked about Halloween. By the way, Daryl, Colette made me think of talk about the Doberman people coming here. You're doing a great job on getting Miss Tennessee contest lined up.
Well, we're working on it. And so we'll see how that goes. It's pretty positive right now, so.
Yeah, I guess we won't take any bets on it, but it's looking pretty good.
It's pretty positive right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. And I got something that's bugging me, Mr. City Manager. We have 3 dog parks. This is great. That part doesn't bug me. I mean, we got one downtown. We got a fairly new dog park behind the new Pet Works facility. Free, you can go. Just the one I go to the most is the one that's located off of Granby Road, right across the parking lot from our baseball stadium. And here's what bugs me. About once or twice a month, if I'm driving down that road, people keep dumping stuff out there at the intersection of Granby Road and Hall Street. Now, Colette talked about what a beautiful city we have, how people really enjoy it that come from the outside and all that. And this is like putting a mustache on the Mona Lisa when people dump trash like that. Look, our Public Works Department can tell you all about how you can get rid of trash. They can help you. Sometimes there's a charge. A lot of times there's not. It depends on the situation, but you can find out all about it. But there is no need to dump old mattresses and broken furniture and stuff like I see dumped out on the road. This is one particular spot I go by a lot because I like to take the dogs to the dog park, but there's no need for litter in our city. It just puts a black mark on our city, and I encourage all of us to do better on this. And other than that, Mr. City Manager, I guess we're into the portion here where citizens can speak on issue-oriented items. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. You are encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to approach the board? If not, then we're adjourned.